Hello ladies and gentlemen, I am Detective Dark and welcome to a new YouTube video. Today it's what if Deku was a Sith. I have a lot to change here, so I hope you all are excited. So am I. It's going to be a lot longer than my previous video, however that's why it took so long to make. I hope you all enjoy and let's get into it. So we start off with Deku and his two parents, his parent. Him and Inko go off to a quirk doctor to check his quirk. And he's excited, bouncing around, happy, joyful in the car. Inko, happy, seeing her son. So some time passes. Inko and Deku get to the quirk doctor. He's excited in the waiting room, happy, joyful. Inko smiles at her son and is excited to find out what his quirk will be. "May Miss Midoriya come in with her son, please?" as the doctor called. Both Inko and Deku walk into the room. A white room, clean and furnished. The doctor looks down at the joyful and gleeful Izuku. Izuku is bouncing in joy, shaking his head, not shaking, bobbing up and down in excitement. "Well, you're a feisty one, aren't you?" the doctor said, taking a look at Izuku. He could clearly tell that the boy was joyful. The doctor took some blood off of Izuku. He was actually quite shocked that he didn't flinch, remarking that Izuku was a rather brave one. Izuku just smiled with a joyful smile, because he couldn't wait to be a hero. He wanted to be like All Might. He wanted to save people with a smile. Inko was really happy and was wanting him to have a quirk so he wouldn't get bullied. She wanted him to succeed in life, like any parent would. However, she had this lingering thought in the back of her head of what she'd do if he were quirkless. The idea forced it out of her mind for the time being, as she was confident that he would have a quirk. The doctor came back some moments later with a terrible look on his face. In the doctor's mind, "What should I tell this kid? It would break his heart. I don't want to. He's a bright and young kid. He seems promising and I don't want to shatter it." Back to reality, the doctor was slowly beginning to speak, saying that Izuku was quirkless and that there was basically no chance that he could get a quirk, but there was a slim chance that he would develop one later in life. However, that was really slim. Izuku, at this point, was shattered. He couldn't be a hero. He couldn't do what he loved. Inko was furious and angry. She held Izuku by the hand and dragged him to the car. After the car ride home, Inko threw Izuku across the room when they got home, being quite mad and hit Izuku in the head. Izuku was beginning to bleed, crying, and was not happy, and Inko threw him to the basement. Some years later, we fast forward, some years later, to where we see a young Izuku at school being beaten and bullied by Bakugo and his associates, saying that he can't be a hero and that he should just take a swan dive off the roof. I know that's a bit early, however I do plan to weave this into the story. This shattered Izuku even more as he realized he had to get home. He ran as quick as he could, stumbling and hurting himself. However, in the shadows, a hooded man, watching Izuku run past, feeling his pain and misery, walked in the direction of the boy. Izuku ran faster and faster as he could. When he finally got home and opened the door, he was hit with a baseball bat across the head, or back of the head, by Inko, and tied to the bottom, or in a basement, to a chair. He was then battered and beaten by Inko for getting home earlier than what she had wanted. Izuku was crying, and on accident, when he screamed out in pain, the Force activated, pushing Inko away. Not far enough, but enough to where she realized something had happened. She smirked with an evil grin, wanting to see if she could provoke it again. However, before she could do this, she heard a ring at the door, and so left Izuku in the basement, bloodied and beaten, scarred. As she closed the door of the basement, she opened the front door, and before she had time to react, she was impaled by a crimson blade. Izuku from the basement could hear it. He was terrified, and rightly so. He didn't know what to do, what he needed to do. However, when the basement door opened again, he was in terror. He saw a hooded figure with a mask. A red saber ignited. The figure looked at Izuku and backed away a little, then picked him up and took him out. Before Izuku, if you're wondering, the reason why Izuku didn't protest to this is, one, he was battered and beaten, he was also mentally broken, and he had fallen unconscious due to blood loss, so, yeah. Izuku woke up... Wait, no, hold on. I'll save for that. A missing person report on Izuku had came. Everyone who knew him and everyone in the city was shocked. They'd also found that the parent, Inko, was killed, meaning that the boy had to have been taken. They found blood in the basement. However, heroes couldn't knew it was the boy's blood, however couldn't find his body. Many heroes scrambled. UA was on high... Wait, no. Many heroes scrambled. Well, not many. Let's say... Aizawa, for the time being, was put on this case, and he was asked to find Izuku and where he was. And he had a bit of a connection with Inko. Well, okay, let me explain. Inko was the adopted sister of Aizawa, so he has an incentive to find Izuku because he wants to make sure Izuku's safe and, well taken after. So, Izuku wakes up, scanning his surroundings, unsure where he is. He thought the last thing he saw was his mother, well, his no longer mother, leaving the basement and closing the door. That's all he remembers. Wait, no. He also heard a scream and a thud and when the door opened, he blacked out. He was unsure where he was, as when he looked around, he saw fancy and expensive medical equipment around him. He didn't know what happened, as when he got up, he realised that he was hooked up to an IV, and he was in a hospital bed. He didn't know where he was, and was confused, but then a voice echoed out. "Don't be afraid, young one, for I am the one who saved you. You were in bad shape when I found you. Be thankful, and get rest." Izuku would be confused. Izuku would obviously be confused and ask why he saved him, because he's quirkless and useless. The hooded man would say that he's not useless, and that he has this distinct power called the Force, and would describe a little bit about the Force, and that Izuku is one of those few people to have it, and that he is to be trained, that he will be trained using the Force, and that the hooded man will teach him. Izuku's eyes lighten up. However, he says he doesn't want to be a hero, as during his life he was mocked him and beat him, so he honestly despises heroes. The man grins a little and says, "Get some rest. We'll have some training in a couple of weeks. In that time, I want you to get ready and rest. For what I will show you will change the balance of light and dark." The man would say as he left and saw two other men follow him. He didn't see these two men walk in, but he saw that they had white armour. This white armour was all over their body. He saw that they had weapons as well. Izuku was unsure of what to do. However, he knew that he was in a far safer place than where he was, and that made him happy, knowing that he was away from the people that tormented him for years upon years. Izuku would also slowly get up and be tended to by the doctors. He'd be put in a Bacta tank for a week or two to heal some of the major injuries that he had. And so I'm going to end this video here, guys. I hope you all enjoy. This video was actually quite fun to make, because I played around with the idea whilst I was making my first video, and it took me a lot longer to make this one, because obviously there were a ton of factors in my life that I had to do, and well, was trying to do. But I hope I'm happy that you guys were patient with me. Anyway, I hope you guys all enjoy. It was a real blast for me to make this, because I've been toying with the idea for quite a while, and decided to make it a reality. So I hope you all enjoy this video, because it was quite a lot of fun to put together, and I have a lot of good plans for the future. Also, I'd also like to suggest hitting the subscribe button and turning on notifications. Subscribing is free, and you can always unsubscribe whenever you want. Anyways, I've been Detective Dark, and see you all next time. Bye-bye.